What is going on, everyone? This is Jacob Amrell here. In today's video, we're going to be building an options trading bot using interactive brokers and, of course, Python. Options are a different asset class than stocks, where they're basically contracts that give you the right, but not the obligation, to purchase an asset at a future price. Basically, they're a leveraged way of buying different assets, and they're incredibly risky. They're much more riskier than stocks because they do have an expiry date, as well as leverage applied to them, because options pricing varies very differently than a stock price. Okay, so this trading system is obviously going to be a lot riskier than what we usually do, but I'm going to be showing you how to use the Interactive Brokers API with Python to build an options trading system. So let's hop in and get started. Okay, so let's start building our options trading bot in Python and with Interactive Brokers. So I've created an empty Python file here called Risky Options Bot. And actually in the description below, there'll be a link to the GitHub if you just want to clone the repository and use it for yourself, as well as instructions. So first we got to start off with our imports. You know, what do we need? What external libraries do we need to run this options trading bot? So we're going to need date time. We're going to need IB InSync, and this library will help us connect to Interactive Brokers. We're going to need AP Scheduler to run a scheduled task. And we're going to use the background scheduler class. And we're also going to need async IO. Okay, so there we go. I'll zoom in a little bit for you guys. There we go. Okay, let's make our class to sort of clean things up. And let's do a comment. If I can spell here. So Risky Options Bot, Python Interactive Brokers. We're going to buy SPY contracts on 3 consecutive 5-minute higher closes. So basically, once we see 3 consecutive higher closes, we're going to buy SPY calls and sell when we're in profit. So a very risky strategy. You know, this is not a safe strategy. This is very risky. So please, you know, understand that. And what we're building here is potentially, you know, probably a very risky trading system, but it's for you to test and to build upon. All right, so let's initialize the variables we're going to need. Initialize variables. So we'll do our init function here. So we're going to do print options bot running connecting to IB, just as a sort of an indication when it's running. Now we're going to connect to IB, which is our broker. We'll encapsulate this in a try except, so we can catch any errors if there is any. Usually there's not, but it's always good to have. We'll print if there's any error message. We're going to make a class variable called IB, and we'll instantiate the IB class, which comes from IB InSync here. And we will connect to our local IB instance. Localhost. Port is 7496 and client ID. So once again, you need to have TWS or IB gateway running in the background. I have mine up here. Let me just bring it over here. Right, so this needs to be running, and please enable your API settings. So if you hit File, Global Configuration, API settings, make sure enable ActiveX and socket clients is checked, and that your socket port matches as well. So mine is 7496, and read-only API is unchecked. Those 3 settings you need. All right. Okay, let's move on. Applying OK, I'll just minimize that. All right, so that connects to IB. Let's get our market data. Create SPY contract. So we're going to make a new class level variable called underlying, not underflying, underlying. Let's go to stock. We're doing the SPY, which is the S&P 500 ETF. We're using the smart denominator to find the exchange, and it's in US dollars. Okay. Then we'll call qualify contracts to fill any information we're missing. Now, once again, IB calls essentially symbols or tickers contracts in their code. Obviously, SPY is not a contract, it's an ETF, but they have labeled it a contract in the code. So it's a little bit different because that can get confusing with options contracts and futures contracts. Okay, so we're going to add a print called backfilling data to catch up. Okay, let's go down here. Now we're going to request streaming bars. So we're going to make a variable called self.data IB request historical data. We'll pass in our underlying self.underlying and date time. Let's go to blank. Duration. We'll load the last 2 days. Bar size setting. We'll do 5 mins. 5-minute bars. What to show? I want to show trades. You can also do like bid ask, but trades is the most common one. Use RTH will be equal to true, which means use real-time hours. And another important one is keep up to date is equal to true. And that not only kind of gets historical data, but then also starts streaming in real time. Okay, so that should be good enough for our data. Yep. So that'll request streaming bars, then we'll do our local variables. We'll have self.inTrade is equal to false, so we know if we're in a trade or not. Okay. Then we need to get, because it's an options trading bot, we need to get current options chains. So remember, options are a derivative where you can have multiple contracts at different prices for a stock at a future value. So we're going to initialize a variable called self.chains, class level variable. Self.ib.request cc params. We'll pass in our symbol of SPY, so we want to get SPY options contracts. This parameter can be blank. Then the SEC type. And I believe we need the contract ID, self. Okay. Now, if we're running this bot multiple days, we're going to have to update the chains once in a while. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a scheduler that will schedule it to run every hour to update the chains. So update chains every hour. So we're going to create a new variable called update chain underscore scheduler. That's going to be a background scheduler object, which runs in the background. I believe it uses async IO to do that. And we're going to give it a parameter of the ability to do 2 instances. And this was because when I was testing it, sometimes they would overlap and not finish. So that gives us the ability to do 2 at a time.
Market data connection log.
Then we are going to officially add our job.
Market data connection reestablished.
And basically we're going to call a function every hour. And that function is going to be self.update underscore options chains. We're going to trigger a cron object, which is sort of a way of running a recurring task and timing it. And we're going to run it every hour. So we pass in asterisk for hour that runs every hour. Oh, sorry. Hour is equal to asterisk. Okay. And then we have to start our scheduler. All right. We'll print running live. And now we need to set up our callback functions to update. All right, so when you're streaming bars, you're getting open, high, low, close data every minute. In this case, it's every 5 minutes because we set our bar size setting. Actually, that should be a lowercase e to 5 mins. Okay, so we're going to subscribe to an update event, which will be self.onBar update. And then I'm also going to subscribe to exec details. And this is when an execution has been filled. When we submit an order on the market, it gets filled. Exec status. All right. And now we want to obviously run this bot forever. So we're going to call the run function in IB and sync to do that. All right, so we've built our class and initialized our variables, our SPY stock, underlying contract, and then our options chains as well. So now we have to build out onbar update, exec status, our options chain update, and actually instantiate the class as well. So first let's do update our options chains, and this will update the strike prices and expirations. So we called this update underscore options chains, and it's a class level variable, so we have to pass in self. We'll do our try except. Let's just copy this code here, just in case any errors occur. We can print them to try and debug them. Okay, so we need to create a new async IO loop per scheduled run, because when we update the options chain, it's looking for the main loop, and there is no main loop because we are using the background scheduler. So we have to create a new loop every time we get a scheduled update. So we're going to print updating options chains, and all we're going to do is just rerun this code, and this will update any strike prices, expirations, that sort of stuff, and update the self.chains object. All right, so that's great. Now the big one is our onbar update, which is going to be called every time we get new data, and essentially our logic for the bot when it goes when it gets into trades. So def on bar update, call this a class level variable, so we have to pass in self, and then we also get 2 parameters that are passed in, which is bars, which is a bars data list, which is the open, high, low, close data, and the time, and then if it has a new bar or not. And this is because we subscribe to update event. Okay. Okay, so first things first, we need our try and accept. So let's put those in there. Okay. So if has new bar, we're going to convert our bar data list to pandas data frame. Python, everyone loves pandas, right? So we'll set df is equal to util.df bars, and that'll create our bars, or convert our bars data list into a data frame. Okay. Then we need to check if we are in a trade. So we don't want to submit duplicate trades. So if not, self.inTrade. Let's print the last close price, which is our data frame.close.iloc -1, which would be the last close price. So bars data list has a close property, and then we're gonna get the most recent close. So now we want to check for 3 consecutive higher closes. Essentially, SPY needs to kind of be trending up for us to be entering a trade. So all we would do is if the most recent close is greater than 2 ago, and two elements ago is greater than the third element. Okay. So in that case, if those are true, we found 3 consecutive higher closes. Now we want to buy call contracts, and calls in the options world is betting that the asset's going to go up in price. Buy call contracts that are out of the money. We'll say a $5 strike price higher. That way they're not super expensive. Okay, so we need to loop through our options chain. For our options chain in self.chains, right? We got our chains initially when we run the application, and then every hour as well. So for options chain in self.chains, let me center this more for you guys. Then for strike in options chain dot strike, that strikes with an S. So if the strike is greater than the most recent close, +5. That way it's not so expensive because it's out of the money. You know, the best way would be to check the bid or ask to see the actual price, but you know, to save time, we're just going to say, all right, it's going to be slightly out of the money. So if the strike is greater than the most recent call, okay, so the strike price, we're looking for a strike price that's at least $5 higher than the current price. So do print found 3 consecutive higher closes, entering trade. Then we need to make an options contract object, which is going to be a type option. We're going to pass in the underlying symbol, the options chain expiration, and how it's sorted, at least in interactive brokers, is the the first item in the array, element in the array, is the most recent expiration, so usually the current day. So I'm using 1, which is about 2 days out. If you got the latest one, it would be the farthest out expiration, like which could be a year from now. So expirations at 1, we'll pass in our strike price. We're gonna pass in C for call because we're betting that the asset's gonna go up. SPY's options are gonna go up, so we're buying a call. We're gonna pass in smart to auto find the exchange to trade it on. And then the trading class needs to be populated as well. That's just going to be the underlying symbol. Okay. Let's enter trade, submit order. All right, so we have the options contract. The next place is we have to make an options order. So we're gonna make an options order variable, set it to a market order, which means we're gonna buy a market. We're gonna buy quantity of one contract, and our account is going to be, you may have multiple accounts depending on your interactive broker setup. So we'll just get the last account, which is the one we're gonna trade with. Okay. And then let's place the order. So we're going to make a trade variable, which is going to be set to self.ib.placeOrder. We'll pass in our options contract and then our order variable. Now we'll submit a market order for one options contract that is 5 strikes higher than the current underlying price. Then we're going to get the last estimated price, and we're going to need this to exit hopefully on a profit. So we'll just pass in the last market price of SPY and save that, and then we'll say that we're in a trade, and this will just flip it. So if it's false, it'll set it to true. Okay. So we submit the order, we save the last fill price, which isn't totally accurate because it's not the fill price, is the underlying price. And then we pass in, or we say we're in a trade. And this is the same as saying equals to true. We're just flipping it. So we're saying not. So if it's false, it's going to set it to true. And then return. And we need to return. This is important because we're in a for loop. It might submit multiple trades if we don't do this, right? So we just want to submit once so it doesn't keep looping. All right. So that handles our order entry. Let's do exit. So we're going to need an else statement here. If self not in trade else, we are in a trade. So if the last close price is greater than our last estimated fill price, we're going to sell for a profit. Okay. And it's not guaranteed because we are doing a market order, so we may not get filled at the best price, but we're going to do a market order, sell, quantity of 1, and once again, our account. And then we need to, once again, place the order. I'm just going to copy and paste. All right, so that will execute our sell. Our sell. This will be our exit. Okay. A couple more things I want to do. We had our execution status, so we want to see if we're filled or not. So we got to make this this function as well. So and once again, execution is when your order gets filled on the exchange. We just want to confirm that that happens. So exec status. It's class level variable, so we got to say self, and then it has a trade and a fill parameter. Nope, I was typing parameter as I was saying it. Trade and fill, and we're just going to print filled. And lastly, we need to instantiate the class to get things rolling. So we just have to call our class like so. And there's our code for our options bot. So let's run it. Okay, running, connecting to IB, successfully connected, running live. Once again, I have TWS running here. I have my settings all set up. Read-only API is unchecked, enable ActiveX is checked, and my port 7496. If you click data here, you'll see that it's connected as well. As you can see, I was testing it earlier today. It was buying and selling, so it was working. But yeah, this is the video, guys. This is an options bot in Python with interactive brokers that's essentially going to day trade. It's very risky. So definitely, use that at your own risk and modify it. But the goal of this video is to show you how to code these trading systems from scratch. So you can see it's updating. The last close was 440. Yeah, so let me know if you found value in this video. A lot of you have been asking for options and options bots. So here's an example of one of them. And if you did find value, please leave a comment below and hit the like button. That'd be awesome. And we'll see you next week for the next video. Have a good one, guys. Bye.